on the drive to set up a field goal before halftime. But it was bad. And I'm not quite sure how that kid got off the mat. I really don't. After he throws the pick six to Nashawn Wright, it looked like it was going to snowball. As a matter of fact, Joe Buck said as much on the Monday Night Football broadcast. And yet somehow, some way, Kevin O'Connell was able to get through to him. They got Jordan Mason in the running game going. Credit to you because you pointed out how impactful you thought he was going to be when the Minnesota Vikings got him.
Good with the Niners.
But once they started getting that ground game going, it seemed to settle J.J. down, and the passing game opened up from there. He had a laser that he threw in the end zone to Justin Jefferson for a touchdown, and from there you could start to see him get more confident with each drive. We literally watched J.J. McCarthy grow up before our eyes in his first start. And to be able to mount a double-digit deficit comeback on the road against a division rival week one in your regular season debut, that's a hell of a thing, man.
First debut ever for a quarterback with 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. First debut in him. I think there's a little, and I'm saying this in a way that is, I'm jealous of the ability to be like, screw it. You think we're going to lose this game? I'm going to bring everybody back from the face paint to the way he plays. No, seriously, like he talks about his war paint.
His
like,
quotes, yeah.
I mean, I'm not making a joke about that.
No, and the way he was rallying his teammates when they were down, they spoke about it after the game, how he was like, it's about to pop. And they're like, hey, you're 22. Yeah. This is your first game. But he was right. And they talked about the conviction that he had when he was rallying them on the sidelines, to your point, Ev.
Since sophomore year of high school, 64-3 his teams are in games that he has started at the quarterback position. It is too easy to say after one game, the young man's just a winner. But up until this point in his life, that's all he's ever done. And he's continuing that, at least in his first moment last night.
Well, I think it matters from this standpoint. He has something innate in him. That there is an intangible there that you can't quantify with any type of test at the combine. And it's really hard to figure out even just sitting down and interviewing him. But if you look at the entire body of work, you know that this guy has something to him. We talk about the it factor, the X factor. J.J. McCarthy oozes that, and it came out in that fourth quarter in Soldier Field. And you just wonder now how that's going to translate to this team's potential success, because you saw as he started to come alive, that defense started feasting on the Chicago Bears offensive line. I mean, you saw Andrew Van Ginkel and Jonathan Gennard and Javon Hargrave, who came over from the San Francisco 49ers, get in on the act. I thought Javon Hargrave was going to kill Caleb Williams in a sack. I thought he was going to kill him. I mean, you talk about a 350-pound man landing on a quarterback. That's never a good thing.
Yeah.
But you started to see that unit fly around. And so it really was palpable, the impact that J.J. McCarthy's performance had on the entire team. Not just on the offense, but on the entire team, even on special teams. The punt returns that they were getting all night long. I mean, just the kid has got something to him, and that game, that performance gives the other 52 guys in the locker room something to believe in when they hit that inevitable adversity that every team goes through throughout a season.
Yeah, a good data point for them to reflect back on, especially when the organization decides to move on from a quarterback that won 14 games for you last season in lieu of J.J. McCarthy. And, you know, he obviously makes sure that physically he's ready, but we're talking about his attitude, his mentality. He pours a lot into the mental side of his game, too. There's a great piece up at ESPN.com that Kevin Seifert wrote about the eye black, Ev, as you mentioned, the meditations that he does before the game, his song, Bob Marley that he listens to. But there's a quote in that piece from his receiver, Justin Jefferson, that I think really encapsulates everything that we're talking about today. He says about J.J. McCarthy, he definitely has the winning attitude, the dog mentality, just that killer mode. And we saw it last night.
Yeah, and it's amazing how different everything was in the first half to the second half, because I sent everybody a text on our Unsportsmanlike group chat referencing Tom Brady years ago on the Shop on HBO with LeBron, when he's retelling the story. And I think now we learn it was the Raiders, if I'm not mistaken, ironically, the team that he now is a part owner of, that they kept that guy over me. And I think it was about Derek Carr. And Aaron Rodgers had to be watching that first half. We all know he wanted to be a Minnesota Viking. I think he's thrilled to be with the Steelers now, but he wanted to be a Viking. saying to himself, they kept that guy over me, or they wanted that guy over me, because he was awful in the first half. But here's the thing, in its simplest form, when we think about the best head coaches in the NFL for quarterbacks, Kevin O'Connell is a top 5 guy on that list.
No doubt.
Right? Okay.
May even be higher.
Jim Harbaugh is probably also on that list. Okay.
Kyle Shanahan,
Andy Reid, obviously. Mm-hmm. At some point, and it's only one game, but at some point we have to take a step back and say, wait a minute. So a Jim Harbaugh coached player in college that Kevin O'Connell trades up for, that Kevin O'Connell said goodbye to a clear-cut starter in Sam Darnold for, is good? That shouldn't surprise us. And I have to admit, I sat here yesterday saying, I have no idea what to expect from this team. And maybe egg on my face, maybe I should have expected immediate good play from a guy that has never been bad. In J.J. McCarthy.
I mean, if you would have expected that, you would have been sorely disappointed based on the first half that he had.
No doubt. I understand.
It did 50 yards passing.
Yeah, it looked bad.
It looked bad. It was awful.
And Caleb looked great, conversely.
You can't win an NFL game playing quarterback the way that J.J. McCarthy did through the first 2.5, 3 quarters of that game.
Yeah.
You just can't.
So what does this tell you now about the rest of the season with the Minnesota Vikings? We're going to get to the Bears part.
Well, we said coming into that game yesterday that J.J. McCarthy has maybe the widest degree of variance of any player that we were going to see in week 1. We just didn't know what to expect. He redshirted last year, but it wasn't really a redshirt year because he had the injury. He was working his way back from that. We just didn't know the player that we were going to see. And I think in that game, we saw the entirety of the spectrum, the variance that we talked about, from the bad to the good. It's interesting because usually when it comes to young quarterbacks, when they have those types of performances that snowball early, it takes them a second to be able to bounce back. Hell, they had to bench Bryce Young. It took him half a season last year to bounce back.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that was his second year in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So you're wondering, for J.J. McCarthy, after that first half, are the guys around him going to shut down because they don't believe that the quarterback is capable of turning it around in this game? But it didn't happen. The guys didn't quit. The defense kept them in it long enough for the offense to find their footing. And the fact that they didn't quit is a good sign, not only that Kevin O'Connell is a good coach, but also that they believed in their quarterback. And I go back to something that Justin Jefferson said earlier on in the offseason. He said, we're going to have to be patient with JJ. You could see that patience throughout the team, throughout that game. Justin Jefferson had every right to be frustrated after that first half, knowing that he's the best receiver in the NFL. Every right to be frustrated, but he didn't quit. Mm-hmm. That defense had every right to be frustrated because the offense was giving them nothing. Didn't quit. Special teams, same thing. They kept fighting. They kept scrapping. It's revealing of the sports character of that locker room, and it also reveals, we also saw the revelation of the character of J.J. McCarthy. And that's a good sign. Now, I ain't sitting here saying that they're going to win 14 games like they did last year, but the Minnesota Vikings can have hope that they can once again be a playoff team because of what we saw from J.J. McCarthy last night.
They might not win 14 games, but they might be the team that we slept on the most in the NFC because of the question mark with J.J. McCarthy. And as much as we hype up Kevin O'Connell, we simultaneously don't give him the benefit of the doubt that we do with other people. Like, if we looked at the body of work with Sam Darnold and with Kirk Cousins, and we just said, we are going to believe that he's going to extract this out of J.J. McCarthy too. We always framed it as a question, and people would be hesitant to go in with the Vikings because they didn't know about J.J. McCarthy. We got to always give him the benefit of the doubt now with quarterback. Now, obviously, it's one game. It's a small sample size. But from what you saw, he clearly had him ready to play, and he got the best out of him when it mattered the most. And I think you said yesterday that the Vikings were the biggest X factor. Right? Was that you that said that yesterday?
I don't know if I said X. Like unknown.
Unknown. The biggest unknown, yeah. And think about that they won 14 games last year. They are returning a lot of the same players. They have the coaching staff with continuity, and now they may have found somebody at quarterback that has that killer instinct and can get it done. We've been sleeping on them.
Well, here's what's not evergreen. A quarterback starting 10 for 10 and looking not as good, as great as Caleb Williams looked. He spoke pregame about the idea of learning how to play point guard most of the time and then Superman when needed, not Superman all of the time. And that's what he did last night early on in that football game. Now, not to get too far ahead before we break down last night, they're also facing an 0-1 Lions team next week. Now you're staring at 0-2 hypothetically, facing this season that you thought was going to be great, starting with a win last night, that was right there for you. What happened to the Bears?
Well, I thought Kevin O'Connell got conservative with the play calling. And here's the thing. I actually understood why he did it. I agreed with
Ben Johnson, you mean?
I mean, Ben Johnson.
Yeah, sorry.
Ben Johnson, excuse me. Ben Johnson got more conservative with the play calling, and I actually understand why he did it.
So in the moment, you're like, good, this is what you're supposed to do.
Well, yeah, because it felt like a game throughout the first half that the Chicago Bears could only lose. It wasn't a game that the Minnesota Vikings could win because their quarterback was terrible.
Right.
Charles Barkley voice, terrible. But they got conservative. They took their foot off the gas. And when they realized that the Minnesota Vikings were actually alive in that game, they couldn't get momentum back in their favor. They couldn't get it back on going. It's like they took their foot off the gas and they couldn't start the car back up. That's what it felt like for the Chicago Bears offense. So you couple that with Caleb Williams missing some throws in there and then having some mistakes that just can't happen going into his second year. I think that's the part that's probably the most jarring for, the Bears meltdown, the Bears collapse. The intentional grounding that Caleb Williams took at the end of the third quarter that led to a miss on the Cairo Santos field goal, that can't happen.
Right.
That can't happen. You can't make the degree of difficulty that much greater for your kicker who doesn't have the most range to be able to execute that and extend your lead. So those are the types of things that I wanted to see improvement from with Caleb Williams. And I get it. It's just week one. He's workshopping this thing. It's in a new offense. But you got to know when the journey is over. He's got a lot of ability, not only as a thrower, as a runner. I mean, the touchdown run speaks for itself. There was a play a few downs before that where he's rolling out to his right and he hits Rome Odunze on a strike.
Phenomenal.
I mean, only a handful of quarterbacks can make that throw.
Yes.
So if you're a Bears fan, and hopefully Ben Johnson is able to stabilize the performances from Caleb Williams as we move forward.
I almost feel badly for Bears fans this morning. I really do, because you have to be so heartbroken after that game last night. You have the head coach that everybody wanted. You watched the Lions against the Packers, and you looked at that offense, and you were like, man, look at how bad they look without Ben Johnson. And now he's on our side. He's coming into this organization. He's going to vivify this offense. He's going to extract the best out of Caleb Williams. And he looked like he did it. He looked like he did it last night. He completed those first 10 passes. It was the